Okay, so tonight we are continuing a study of Sichot HaRan, and we're going to be talking about something which is a very general topic, and a very important topic. I think people are confused about this in life in general, that how much of life needs to be intentional, how much should it be with a deliberate act, and how much like should it be just go with the flow. And of course people put a certain label of like bitachon, that like, yeah, I just trust Hashem. I once met a person that said that, yeah, I never forced anything. I just let whatever came my way. That's the way I led my life. And whether it was regarding job opportunities or whether it was regarding dating, and it was like he never really pushed his life to any particular direction. And the other people that is the opposite. And this is a certain it's a certain conflict. It's a certain dilemma of life that I think that we struggle with, and there's problems with being too far on either side. I believe that the person is going to be too pushy. So like we've learned a couple of weeks ago, Rebbe Nachman talks a lot about what's called to push for things. Then, and we learned that the Gemara says if you push too much, then the time is going to push you away, and so like you have to understand that Hashem has the right timeline. Hashem has His plan. Hashem has His idea of the way things are supposed to play out, and like don't try to push it away. And on the other hand, you have a person that he's just like letting things go and letting his life play out, and then he's 90 years old, and like he's still waiting for the good part, and like it's like a person needs to certainly take control of his life. A person should. It's like the whole reason why we exist. The whole reason why we're here is to make good decisions. Is to put ourselves into the right situations. And we know that on the one hand we are in control. On the other hand, we're not in control. So this is I think a certain conflict, a certain dilemma of life that in general plagues human beings. And Rebbe Nachman is really addressing this issue in a very particular way. The topic of tonight's Torah in Sichot HaRan, we're up to Torah Samach Vav, and the topic of Samach Vav is actually not about life; it's about Tefillah, particularly. It's about davening, and it's about how much should a person put energy into prayer. Okay, and it's like it's a simple it seems like a silly question, of course if whatever you're doing you should do it with all your energy, but yet he feels the need to talk about this because he says that that some people think that you shouldn't force it. You shouldn't force it. You should let it just come. Let it be natural. So he writes like this: that he told us many times that when you daven, you have to do it b'koach gadol, that with extreme strength, with very intense strength, to be very strong about davening. To put all of your energy into the words of the davening. And he writes about this numerous times in his different books. This is now, he takes it a step further. It's not just to put your energy into davening. He says lahachriach. Lahachriach means force. Force means that it wasn't natural. Force means that naturally I wasn't so into this, and I'm forcing myself to be into it. Okay? And he says that is necessary. It's necessary for davening. Lo kamo she'amrim k'tzat, not like some people say, she'ein hachriach atzma l'tefillah, that you don't have to force yourself. Okay, now, like everybody understands, everybody would agree. Nobody in the right mind would say that you shouldn't daven with energy. But when it comes to force, like then some people would say, don't force it. Don't force it. Forcing isn't going to help. Forcing isn't going to make it good. So why would a person say the forcing is not going to help? Where would this philosophy come from? Because a person wants to be real. A person wants to be authentic. And so if I'm forcing it, so like what's the point? What's it worth? What's it worth if I'm not feeling it? It's something fake. It's something not natural. And real davening should be natural. Real davening should be real. And for it to be real, it needs to be natural. So, and in their definition of natural, so what does natural mean? That it comes without effort. And so if I'm in the mood, so then it's coming without effort. And if I'm having to force it, that means that it's not real, it's not authentic, it's fake. Okay? So this is this other position that he's coming to debunk, that he's coming to disagree with this opinion. He says, you have to force yourself very, very much, with all of your energy, to force yourself with davening. So this is really the question that, like, it's related to another question that I've heard many times. People have asked me that about what it says in halacha that a person has to daven every day. Okay, so I just gave a class about this recently, about like how often do you actually have to daven? That like men certainly have to daven 3 times a day, and women should be davening once a day, maybe twice a day, maybe not even that, but whatever. Like, there's the certain expectation a person should have some kind of davening every single day, and to some people that bothers them. To some people that says, like, how can you tell me every day? What if today it's not going to go? Well, like, what if today I'm not in the mood? Sometimes I'm feeling it. Sometimes I'm in the mood. Sometimes, and like, that's beautiful. When I'm in the mood to talk to Hashem, that's really beautiful that I'm talking to Hashem. But if I'm not in the mood, so what's the point? Does Hashem really get something from my just going through the motions? Like, I'm not feeling it. I'm not in the mood to talk to Hashem. So, like, how is that worth anything? So now, there's a couple of ways to address that question. Like, obviously, like, we trust Chazal that, like, they knew what they were doing, and I think that first of all, even without the element of Kavana, even if I wouldn't question their assumption that even if it would be fake, even if it would be not real when they're not in the mood. So I really believe that there's value to just showing up. You know that they say that 80% of life is showing up. That just to, like, whether or not you're going to succeed, that's like that's not really so much in your power, but like just showing up, like to do what you believe in, to do what you're supposed to do, is a huge thing. And the fact that I'm making a statement to myself that my relationship with God, my Judaism, is worth something, it's worth enough that I'm going to show up to it every day. I'm going to make a statement to myself that this is part of my day. This is, like, that itself is something. You know, like, I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel any connection. Let's assume. I didn't feel any inspiration. I didn't feel any closeness. I didn't feel devotion. I didn't feel connection. But the mere fact that I showed up and I made a statement to Hashem and to myself that this is something that's important to me. So that itself is extremely, extremely valuable. That itself is mamash a huge thing. But the truth is that it's really more complex than that. I believe that their assumption of the question is actually not so accurate. That if a person is going to wait until he's inspired, so they're going to notice that they're inspired maybe like twice a month, maybe 3 times a month. Whereas if you daven 3 times a day, even if you're not inspired, then as you start davening, then you're going to notice that you get into it. And like, you're going to have, instead of having 2 or 3 times a month that you're inspired, so you're going to have a minimum of 10 or 15 times that you're inspired. Like, it's like, give yourself the opportunity to be inspired. Like when I put myself in the right situation, when I put myself in the right state of mind, when I put myself in the right context, so then it's much easier for my devotion to come. It's much easier for my connection to come, and like to feel a deep desire to have connection from a place that I'm sleeping in bed is much harder than like once I'm already everything falls into place. Then I just need to be inspired. Then it comes when you come to shul, you feel inspired. When you start going through the motions, you feel inspired. And so there is something to be said about just going through the motions because it actually brings Kavana. And the truth is that Rebbe Nachman is really coming to explain the mechanics of why that actually works. Why is it? Why is it that when we sometimes go through the motions, that it actually brings forth things that we didn't know? We didn't know that this was part of where I was. We didn't know that this is where I'm holding. I didn't know that I really was in the mood to talk to Hashem. It's just like I wasn't aware of it. So the truth is that this question of forcing myself to davening, so this is actually one of the most basic ideas about what davening is. Because if you think about it, that these two approaches of like the guy that wants to wait until he's inspired versus the halacha, that the person should be proactive in tackling davening as a project, that this is really, that in Kabbalah, so we have names for these two approaches. That the first approach in Kabbalah is called Itaruta de Leila. Okay, Itaruta de Leila means an awakening from above. Okay, so that guy that says that I want Hashem to inspire me, so he means that he wants the awakening to come from above. Like, I'm not going to wake myself up. No, I have this issue with my kids sometimes, that they say, they tell me to wake me up at this time, like, you know, you can set your own alarm. You can make it like, why what's that have to do with me? Like, why you're like, it's part of growing up is that like you wake yourself. Like waking yourself up in the sense of setting an alarm, but like you don't need to depend on me. Like, it's part of being autonomous in life is to be able to set your own alarm and to wake yourself up, and like to not go through this whole game of like as if it's my fault, as if it's my responsibility, as if like no, I'm tired. I don't have to be part of this. This is so that the awakening from above is that Hashem is inspiring us, and the awakening from below, it's a ruta de latata, means that it comes from us, right? So the truth is that tefillah, of all things, the essence of tefillah is it's a ruta de latata. The essence of tefillah is actually that it's awakening from below, because what is tefillah? Tefillah is that what we bring to the table. Right? If you think about it, in Judaism, so almost everything in Torah is that we're complying. Like everything, all the mitzvahs is that Hashem tells us to do something, and we say, how high? Like that's what it is. Like we want to know how to keep Shabbos. We want to know how to blow shofar. We want to know how to read Megillah. We want to do how to do Shach Manas. All the different elements of all the different mitzvahs is that we're simply complying. We're simply like agreeing to what He wants, and we're not like, and we don't bring anything to this relationship. We don't bring anything to the table. And the one thing that Hashem wants to say, Hashem asks us, like, okay, but like I've spoken enough. Like what do you have to say? So that's tefillah. That tefillah is one thing, that it's that Hashem cares, He wants to hear our voice, and He really cares about what we have to say. That's why in Kabbalah, so tefillah is called malchut. Okay, there's something called malchus peh, and malchut is a feminine energy, and the feminine energy is that when the receiver actually plays a role as well. So in our relationship with Hashem, so we're the feminine, right? So the tefillah is the malchut. The tefillah is that Hashem wants to give the mic over to His wife. Okay, and that's where we have a place in our relationship with Hashem, is in davening. Like that, Hashem has a lot to say to us, and we also have a lot to say to Him. So what He has to say to us, that's Torah. That He's teaching us what to do. He's teaching us about life. He's teaching us His wisdom. But we also have something to say back. And what we have to say back, that's tefillah. Right? So the whole essence of tefillah is that it's coming from us. So the whole essence of tefillah is it's the ruta de latata. It's the awakening from below. So for a person to say that I'm not going to be proactive in my davening, I'm just going to let Hashem inspire me, that's missing the whole point of tefillah. That's saying that I want to be completely non-existent in this relationship. If you want to say something through me, so like I'm not going to stop you. Like if you're going to wake me up in the morning and give me this idea, I really need to go up to shul today. Like I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to say no, I don't believe in that. But like to be proactive, to say like I also want to be part of this relationship. I want to bring something to the table. That's like that you're denying that whole aspect of the relationship. It really makes a lot of sense what Rebbe Nachman is saying. Because the whole essence of tefillah is it's the ruta de latata, is the awakening from below, and the awakening from below actually requires that a person is going to be proactive. As a person isn't going to just wait until he's inspired. He's going to inspire himself. Okay, he's going to be.
Can you say about every mitzvah?
What do you mean?
Like, is there a mitzvah that you're not supposed to be proactive about?
I think that in general, our relationship to mitzvahs is that we're following orders. So that, of course, you're absolutely right that we should be proactive in getting around to doing what Hashem wants us to do. But what we're getting around to is actually complying. What we're getting around to is actually to understand what Hashem wants from us, and it's not something creative that we're bringing to the table. Whereas the tefillah, that the whole essence of what tefillah is that we're being creative, that Hashem wants to know what we have to say. Not that we're surrendering to Hashem's will, but rather that we are being active, we're being present. Make sense?
Well, yeah, creative in the sense that, like, if you do shacharit, like, according to what's in the book, and you say everything that you're supposed to say, it's not, I mean, I don't see what's creative about that. Maybe if you do Hibbodah, that's a little more creative. So it depends on what type of tefillah is.
I agree. That's a very good point. That if you're really doing tefillah as an act of obedience, then you're really missing the point. And in that sense, then the koach of tefillah is really identical to the being proactive in any other mitzvah, right? And the truth is that the reason why we have a prayer book, the reason why we have a siddur, isn't because Hashem doesn't want us to be creative. Really, all of tefillah is He wants to hear our voice. It's just that the people who wrote the siddur, so they did us a favor, they did us a kindness, that sometimes people don't know what to say. And so they said, like, let me tell you what you would want to say if you were smarter. You know, it's like I always use I use the metaphor that, like, if you're going out with a girl and like you don't know what kind of poetry she likes. You want to write her a poem, but you want to write her a song. You don't know what kind of. So you ask your best friend, like, what kind of songs does she like? What kind of poetry does she like? So we don't really know what Hashem likes. So we ask Hashem's best friend, like what should I buy her? What should I? And so they say, oh, you know, like I think Shemona Esrei, I think that's gonna be really good. Jack Fat, right?
He just loves Kadisha.
He loves everything. He loves every single word. Every single word of Shemona Esrei is mamish. That's what he's waiting for, and like because they get him more than we do. So, but it's like we're relying on them, and we're being present. We're being creative. We're presenting ourselves in that experience, even though we're listening to Hashem's best friend, so to speak. Okay, but whoever is, like, when it comes to tefillah is all about us talking. Like, tefillah is not about complying. Tefillah is that Hashem says, Hashmini et kolech, I want to hear your voice. Like, I've said enough. I want to hear what you have to say. And it's really that's the one place where Hashem gives us the microphone. Hashem gives us the stage, and He says, now it's your turn. Okay, so He says, so this is why logically it really makes a lot of sense that of course a person has to put koach. Of course a person has to use force when it comes to tefillah. And the question is that the other opposing opinion had a good argument that if I'm going to force it, then it's fake. And like, what's it worth if it's fake? So, what does Hashem get from that? Okay, so we said before that even if it is going to be fake, that it's still something. The fact that you're showing up is really amazing, and it shows you a certain loyalty and a certain commitment, and that is very beautiful. But the truth is, Rebbe Nachman says that it's really deeper than that, and he says as follows: Shuv Amar, Adam is pala b'Kavana. When a person davens to Kavana, now he does something very, very beautiful that you almost never see this. He translates what Kavana means, because it's so not clear. What in the world is Kavana, right? So he says, Dehainu, shemekasher hamachshava el hadibor, that you connect your thoughts to your speech. Umata ozno, and you listen, v'shamea mashahu medaber, and you listen to what you're saying. So that's what Kavana is. Okay. Now I want to stop just at this moment and try to analyze what he's telling us. What is Kavana? A person says daven with Kavana. What does it mean to daven with Kavana? So a lot of misunderstandings that really turn a lot of people off to davening, that what exactly Kavana is. So, like, myth number one, that Kavana means that you're crying. Okay? If I'm not crying, so that I don't have real Kavana. Okay? Or similar to myth number one, that if I'm not, my face doesn't turn red from concentration, then that's not Kavana. So that's not what he says. He says that it's not about the intensity, it's not about the emotions, it's about the being present. It's about the consciousness. I'm speaking consciously. Okay? What's the opposite of Kavana? That there's no thought in my words, or rather that my words are on autopilot. Okay? But that's something that the Gemara talks about. That there's a statement in Chazal that there was an Amara which is like, it's very like validating to know that Amoraim struggle with this as well. Like the holy people that, not when I say holy, I mean that they were so holy that they had Ruach HaKodesh. Like they were so holy that they were able to do miracles. And yet, they struggled with davening with Kavana to the point that he said that one of the Amoraim says that I have appreciation to my knees, that when the right time comes, that they bend for Maidim, because I didn't tell them to bend. I didn't know that I was there. I did like that they were completely on autopilot, and just like my knees knew that when I get to this line, I'm supposed to bend, and like thank you knees, because like I didn't tell you to do that, and you did it anyway. So like I love you, and so like that we see that even in times of Chazal, not times of Chazal, even Chazal themselves, that they had this issue of going on autopilot, and that's what it means not to be with Kavana. That there is no thought. That I'm just my lips are on autopilot, meaning that I'm not thinking about it. That there is no. I imagine that like neurologically there is some. I can't like my. I think biologically my lips can't move without a neurological order. But I'm not conscious of that order. I'm not conscious of that order. So that's the first. So that's the first. The definition of Kavana is that I'm conscious of what I'm saying, that I'm aware of the fact that I'm saying something, and not that it's just coming out of my mouth, that the words are just being pronounced without my mind being there, without my consciousness being there. Okay? Myth number two. This is actually a pet peeve of mine. That myth number two is the Kavana means that I know what the words mean. Okay? And this is the biggest turnoff to most people, because tons of Americans don't know what the words mean, and so they think that like, okay, so like I'm not davening with Kavana, so what's the point? And this is really just untrue. This is really just untrue, and this is something that the many Sfarim talk about. And the Rebbe talks about, he quotes from Chaim Soloveitchik, actually talks about this, that the definition of Kavana is the fact that I'm aware of the fact that I'm speaking to Hashem. Okay, there's a certain that there is a halacha that a person should know what the words mean for the first bracha of Shemona Esrei, and for the first either for the first line of Shema or for the first paragraph of Shema. But besides the first paragraph of Shema and the first paragraph of Shemona Esrei, you don't need to know what the words mean. But what do you need? You need to have an awareness of the fact that you're speaking to Hashem. Okay, and that's really what he's driving at over here. That l'kasha machshava, that your thoughts are with your speech, and not that your thoughts, not that your speech is simply just by itself. Okay, but you don't need to know what the words mean. Like you need to be aware of the fact that I'm speaking to Hashem. You need to be aware of the fact that I'm communicating with my Creator, and it doesn't matter if I know what I'm saying. I know basically what I'm saying. Okay? Basically, I'm saying, Hashem, I love you. Hashem, I need you. Hashem, get me a shidduch. That's the basic gist of everything, right? So but like whatever particular word means, like that's less. It's really less important. It's really less important. So that's the second second myth of Tefillah, of Kavana. So now he says something very, very, very beautiful. That I think this is his main point of this Torah. So when you do that, when you're davening with proper Kavana, with what Kavana is, and not with what Kavana is not, so then what happens? Azai hakochot nimshachim memela letoch divrei tefillah. That all of your kochot. Okay, we have to define what does it mean kochot. All of the energy of your body, all of the energy inside of your existence. So they are automatically brought forth. They're automatically drawn into the words of the tefillah. Why? Ki kol hakochot mitzapim umistaklim tamid al zeh. Because all of your energies, all of the energies of your soul, all of the energies of your personality, all of the energies of who you are, this is what they're waiting for. Their deepest will is to be expressed into the words of tefillah. Mitzapim, they're awaiting. Umistaklim, and they're watching. That they want to be expressed through holy words. And the holy words being the words of communication with Hashem, with words of tefillah. Okay, so all of your energy is going to naturally come, and then you'll merit to daven with a great energy, with great strength, without force. Because it's going to automatically happen, it's going to naturally happen once you have a simple kavana. So now he makes it more nuanced. Okay, now he makes it more complicated. That like the first approach was the davening is that I'm going to force myself. I'm going to and then we said like that doesn't seem normal. It doesn't seem like if you like a person is like goes up to his wife and says, "I love you." And it's not so romantic, right? So if you're if you have to force yourself that bad, like it doesn't really. So that's not what. Yeah. Maybe she'll say like, "Could you please tell me what you really think?" So.
Which is like you ignore Hashem or your wife completely.
So he's saying that you don't need to do that. But like the force is not into the I'm forcing intensity. Okay, and so when he says kochot over here, so like what does it mean? That like the simple definition of kochot is energy. So I don't know what that means. That energy doesn't automatically go. So he can't mean. He can't, when he says koach, he can't mean your energy, your strength, because everybody knows that the only way to bring out strength is to exert strength. So when he says kochot, he can't mean strength. So what does he mean? I think he means that we have well springs of emotion inside of us. We have tons and tons of different emotions, and these are actually kochot. And this is also a term that the Rishonim use. The kochot hanefesh is the energies of the soul. This is that our emotions are well springs of emotions. We have tremendous resources waiting to be expressed, and so all of we have well springs of joy, of gratitude, of love, of curiosity, of hope, of sadness, of even anger. Sometimes a person could have negative emotions I have anger inside of me that's waiting to be expressed in a holy way. And what's the holy way for the anger to be expressed? When I'm expressing it to Hashem. When I'm expressing it as like I'm letting out my anger to Hashem. That Hashem, like, how could you allow this? And like I know that He's the right address of my anger. Like to be sad about something. So I have so much sadness. The sadness inside of me, it really wants to be expressed to Hashem. Like my sadness doesn't want to just bring me to grief. My sadness doesn't want to bring me to depression. My sadness wants to be expressed to Hashem. That's really where. So when I have this sadness inside of me, so the deepest desire of the sadness is to be expressed to Hashem. A person has awe inside of him. A person has this ability to be in awe. And this energy inside of him, of awe, is waiting for an opportunity to be expressed through. And where's the best way for it to be expressed is through davening. And a person has confidence. A person has this confidence inside of themselves that a person my confidence is waiting for the right time to express itself. And when I'm davening, so then my confidence says, yes, now I can feel confident. Now, like Hashem, standing before Hashem is actually what makes me secure that I can feel confident without being self-conscious, without people telling me like, who are you to think you're so self-confident? Like being in front of Hashem is what allows my sadness to overcome the self-consciousness. It's what allows my anger to feel secure that Hashem is not going to tell me like, how dare you be angry? Like, grow up. But like the fact that I'm speaking to Hashem, that all of my different emotions, so they're really awaiting this holy time, the special time of communicating with Hashem, of being like putting myself out there, and this is what we're waiting for. This is naturally what they love. This now they feel that they can be expressed freely. So it actually comes naturally. Okay, it's meaning a person in their struggle for a kavana. So the first thing Rebbe Nachman says is you need to be b'koach. You need to be. Don't be proactive. Don't wait for it to come to you. Don't wait for it. You need to come to it. Okay, and then we had this opposing force, this opposing idea that he says, but that's fake, but that's not real. How are you forcing yourself? And then Rebbe Nachman gives us the golden rule. That the golden rule is that the force shouldn't be on the emotions. The force should be just on the consciousness, to being present. And once you're present, then I promise you, you have all of the emotions. It's going to get deep. It's going to get very emotional. You're going to all of the koach. It's all going to come out if you're going to be real about the consciousness. Okay, so this is I believe it's a very beautiful compromise. It's a very beautiful way of like understanding that I'm not faking myself, and yet I'm being proactive. And I also believe that there's something very positive about this. There's something very comforting about this, because if you think about it, that Rebbe Nachman is making a certain assumption here, that when I'm being conscious, when I'm being present, when I'm putting myself in the state of mind that I do believe that I'm speaking to God, so then the rest of my entire being, the rest of my entire psyche it's going to come. It's going to come. And as opposed to a person could think that, I'm not a davener. I have nothing to do with Hashem. Like, so if my starting point is that I'm completely detached, then everything has to be forced. And Rebbe says, no, you don't have to force. I promise you, you are naturally waiting to express your gratitude to Hashem. It's just that until you're conscious of the fact that you're speaking to Hashem, then you're not going to feel it. You ever had this, that you feel a certain gratitude. You get something awesome that happens to you, and then just like when you start talking to Hashem about it, then you suddenly get very emotional about it. It's just because suddenly the gratitude has a place to express itself, or a certain compassion about something, a certain that you feel sad about something that's not okay, and like when you're the whole time you feel it is not okay, but then suddenly when you're speaking to Hashem, that it suddenly becomes like emotional. Then you suddenly start crying about it, and so there's a certain assumption here, that it's a beautiful assumption that every element of our being is actually yearning to express itself to Hashem. And I found a very, very beautiful passage in Rav Kook that really discusses this. This is an excerpt from a book called Olat Re'iyah, which is Rav Kook's commentary on the Siddur. So in the introduction to the Siddur, so he has a chapter which is called Hatfilah Hamatmendet Shel HaNeshama, that the Neshama's constant prayer. And he writes as follows: Ein Hatfilah Ba Ketikuna, that a prayer isn't going to come out the way it was meant to come out, Ki'i mitoch hamachshava, unless it's coming from the thought, shebe'emet haneshama tamid mitpalalet, that in truth the soul is always davening. The soul is mamish always davening. Hello, hi afa umitrapekad al doida b'li shum hefsek klal, because the soul itself is constantly flying and is constantly wooing its beloved, and the soul is naturally dying to reach out to Hashem. Ela shebeshat hatfilah Hama'asit, when you're actually physically davening, the constant soul prayer, mitgama b'fal, then it's actualized. Meaning that the soul itself is constantly like, it's like, I don't know, to me it sounds like he's saying that like that there's a certain like a radio station that's constantly putting out the whatever its broadcast is, and just when you're davening, so that suddenly then you connect it to a speaker, and like that when you put yourself there, when you put your consciousness there, so then the broadcast was always going. It's just that when you open up a siddur, when you come to shul, when you start davening, so then there's a speaker. So then you don't have to start making up, like, what am I going to say? It's there. It's constantly there. The soul is always broadcasting its desire to speak to Hashem and its words of connection, so to speak, even though it doesn't have a mouth to actually pronounce the word. V'zehu iduna v'iguna hadara v'tifarta shel tefillah. This is the most refinement and the most grounded and the most glorious and the most beautiful way of expressing tefillah. Shehi mitameh l'shashana hapotachat et aleh hanaim likrat hatal onach karnei hashemesh hamafiyam aleh ba'ora. It's like a rose that it's opening up its petals, and its beautiful petals, and it's opening up slowly to greet the dew or to greet the rays of sun that are shining upon it, and it's that the way that the soul is expressing its desire to come close to Hashem is simply it's not force. It's just sprouting. It's just blossoming. It was all there, and just there's this dew, there's this sunrise, and I think it's like he said something very beautiful over here because when he refers to the dew or the rays of sun, so what is that? This is my nourishment. This is the rose's nourishment. This is what gets its life source. So that the way that we relate to Hashem is exactly that. The way that we relate to Hashem is that we understand that this is my life source. This is what makes me alive. This is what makes me real. This is what makes my existence worth living. And so that is what the soul is constantly feeling. That I'm just like, I know where I come from. I know what I need, and what I need is Hashem. And so when you have the headspace that I'm opening up my siddur, I'm allowing myself to be in the consciousness of davening, so then the constant tefillah of the neshama is able to blossom. And that's why this is that fascinating statement in Chazal, in the Gemara, that I believe Rebbe Nachman says that if only a person could daven 24/7, it would be the most beautiful thing if a person could daven 24/7. And so Rav Kook says that what he's really referring to is that deep down the neshama really is davening 24/7. It's a shame that we have other things to do, that we have to learn, we have to make a living, we have to take care of all the different things of life. So it's a shame that we can't consciously be davening the entire day. But the reason why it would be so beautiful that we could is because the truth is that our soul is constantly there. That our soul is constantly in this space of desire to have constant expression. So this is what I think is a very beautiful way of addressing what it means to be proactive in Kavana and forcing ourselves in Kavana. That when a person is forcing himself in Kavana, so a person should never think that I'm being fake. A person should never think that I'm being unnatural, because just the opposite. That when you're not into your davening, then you're being unnatural, because your soul is there and your soul is waiting for this connection. So what is the force? What is the force that he's talking about? So he talks about simply Kavana, about simply just telling yourself that I'm speaking to my Creator, and making sure that when you're saying the words, that you're aware of the fact that you're speaking to Hashem. Elsewhere in Sichot HaRan, he talks about another element of davening with Kavana, and that is another element of force, and that is to daven out loud, to daven with kol, to daven with volume. And this is something that's brought from Chazal, that it says Hakol Ma'or HaKavana. The source of this is actually a Gemara. The Gemara says that a person that says Amen Yehesh Merabah B'Kol Kocho, so then it's going to make him, even if there's a bad decree, it's going to undo that decree. So there's a discussion in the Rishonim. What does it mean B'Kol Kocho? So one commentary is that with all of your Kavana. And that's Rashi. The Tosfos says it means B'Kol Kocho means with a loud voice. And the other Rishonim say, they're not so different, because of course saying with a loud voice is worthless just by itself. But the fact is that when you say something with a loud voice, so it wakes you up, and it enables your kavana to come forth. And this is something that psychologically is true, that when a person, like sometimes a person is sleeping, and when a person is using volume, so the volume actually wakes them up. And Rebbe Nachman compares this to the Gemara. The Gemara says in Brachas that lo nivru re'amim ela lahafshit akmimus shebelev. That the Gemara says that why did Hashem create thunder? That the purpose of thunder is to smoothen out all of the wrinkles of our heart. That our heart naturally, when our heart is in a good state, so then it's crying out to Hashem. But sometimes our heart gets a little smushed. Sometimes our heart gets a little like thrown around, and it's so crumpled that it doesn't know what it's saying anymore. And so you need something to just smooth it out, to iron it. That should be nice and smooth. And then once your heart is smooth, so then it remembers what it wanted. Then it remembers who he is. So the Gemara says that the purpose of thunder is to smoothen out all of the wrinkles of the heart. And Rebbe Nachman says that that's the idea of davening b'kol. That's the idea of davening with volume, davening out loud. That when you hear yourself, when you're davening with actually enunciating the words and saying it out loud, so then it's a technique to be able to be present. Like there's only so much that you can be thinking about something else when you're really shouting at yourself. And so the more that you're present, the more that you're putting your consciousness in the fact that I'm here and the fact that I'm doing it b'kol, so then it's a technique to straighten out, to smooth out all of the wrinkles of the heart. And then naturally, what does your heart want when it's smooth? So it wants to connect with Hashem, because really, like Rav Kook says, that there's this Tefillah hamatmedet shel haneshama, that there is the constant prayer, that really your heart always is desiring to connect. So now I think the Rebbe Nachman is giving a very particular advice with this, and it's not so hard. I think that a lot of people, when they think about what Kavana is, so it's about, like if in Chabad, for example, I think that when we think about what does it mean to have Kavana, so it's a lot of meditation, it's a lot of imagining. Think about how big Hashem is. Think about how small you are. Imagine yourself that. Using your imagination to imagine that you're standing in the Holy of Holies at the Beis Hamikdash, and it's like these things are very they take a lot of effort because these things are not my natural consciousness. To think about how awesome Hashem is, that's something that requires a lot of energy and a lot of force. To think about how small I am, to think about the awesomeness of this reality, and that's something that actually takes a lot of force. And I think that Rebbe Nachman doesn't want that. And that what Rebbe Nachman wants is that the energy should come naturally. That Rebbe Nachman believes in us that we're there. Your energy, your emotions will come. Your emotions are waiting for this moment, and you just need to just show up. You just need to don't force it. Don't try to imagine things that aren't real. Hashem is real. Hashem is very real. We all know that Hashem cares about what we say. That Hashem is listening. The details of exactly what he looks like, quote unquote, or exactly where we are in relation to him, that's really not so important. Just because things like that, they really take force in a way that makes it feel fake. And so Rebbe Nachman is saying that it's actually not so difficult. That just show up, that be aware of the fact that you're speaking to your Creator, and that is the forest that you need. Don't not allow yourself to be conscious of the fact that you're speaking to Creator. With that, you absolutely need to be proactive. With that, you absolutely need to put koach into the fact, I'm not going to do this like just by accident. I'm not going to do this on autopilot. I'm going to be very present and just be aware of the fact that Hashem is actually listening to my prayers and the kavana of the emotions. So don't sweat that. Don't sweat that. It's going to come. If it doesn't come, it doesn't even matter. And just your kavana should be just in presence, b'ezrat Hashem. So I bless us all that we should be aware of the fact that we're there. That we don't need to force ourselves. That our emotions are all awaiting this awesome meeting with Hashem, and to believe in the fact that we have this holiness inside of us. All we need to do is to show up, to be aware of the fact that this is an awesome meeting with Hashem, and then all of the kavana that we dreamt of. So a lot of times the whole reason why it's not coming is because we're waiting for it to come, and like Hashem wants it to come naturally, and if we give it the opportunity, so b'ezrat Hashem, it will absolutely come.